Yes, yes, yes. Oh, for the last time of the season. Yes, it's in the Paddock F1, Greeny and the Cheese. Oh, and it all comes down to this. The finale of the 2023 season. For the 15th time, it's the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Abu Dhabi, the capital city of the United Arab Emirates, home to 1.5 million people and growing every year. And while you're there, maybe check out the Warner Brothers Studios. Say hi to Bugs and the gang. Or get a little desert safari. And of course, no trip is complete unless you take a trip to Ferrari World. That's right, a theme park around the great brand Ferrari. But this is no travel show. This is an F1 show. And we're racing the Yas Marina circuit. 3.28 miles, 16 corners. You give it the full beans for 64% of your lap. Oh, and what a finale we got. There was still all to play for in the constructors outside of the top. Max had pole. It was off to the lead in turn one. Leclerc fought back there a couple times, but just wasn't enough because Max is absolutely unstoppable this season. There was fights through the field, but again, Max takes the win. His 19th of the season, which is absolutely ridiculous. Leclerc takes second. Russell takes third. But don't fret, boys and girls. Only 96 days, and we're back to preseason testing, baby. We're caffeinated. We're medicated, Greeny. Good evening, sir.
Oh, man. What a crazy season it's been. Max Verstappen torched the record books. What else do you have to say, man? 19 wins, 1,000 laps led, largest point margin, 1-2 in history, 1-3 in history, and so on and so forth. Damn, man. What a crazy season it's been. You got
no DNFs.
No DNFs in the final race. How about that?
No, Max. Max,
sorry,
no
Max.
DNFs the whole season.
Oh,
not
Max,
one.
Yeah.
No mechanical, no nothing.
Yeah, a little bit of luck, as he said in the post race, a little bit of luck as well, and something that probably may never be done again. Only 3 drivers winning any races this season. Him winning 19 out of 22 should have been 23. We had that flood incident in Italy, if you do recall, back in May or June. I believe it was June. And here we are, end of the season. Max Verstappen wins, of course, the title, as he won weeks or months ago at this point, but and of course Red Bull as well. But Ferrari, so close. What was your biggest takeaway from yesterday? We had the Ferrari, Mercedes. You had the aforementioned the Lando Norris 5-second pit stop, which put a little kerfuffle and helped George Russell take 4th, perhaps, and finish the race with a couple more points, which led to Ferrari coming in 3rd in the constructors for the season, which led to Mercedes coming in 2nd. Aston Martin losing out to McLaren. McLaren finishing in front of Aston Martin. What an unbelievable day, shaking everything up, as you mentioned at the top of the show. Tell us all about it, man.
That was a fun day. I think Ferrari's problems began with just Sainz having just an absolute awful weekend from the jump. From the jump. You needed to have 2 cars in the points to take second from Mercedes. Bottom line, you didn't get it. That's where that failure is. McLaren was just on that second half, just tear. Just been an absolute tear. We went over a couple episodes ago. I think I gave you the number, how many points they'd gained from the start, whatever, to like the break, and then from the break on, just absolutely insane. So no shock there with them finishing in front of Aston Martin, although Aston Martin did, put in some decent showing last few races. Both drivers, getting the points and such. So it just added a lot of spice there at the end. Williams finishing ahead of AlphaTauri in the standings. with Yuki not being able to, tried the one stop, but I think they needed to get like 6th, and I think he finished 8th. So that, a lot of things just went down to the
maybe
wire.
7th they needed. But whatever.
Didn't make it. Yes, it didn't make it. So yeah, a little something there with the constructors, but overall, it's just the ridiculous season that Max Verstappen had. I mean, you'll probably never see anything like that again. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Ridiculous. I don't think you'll ever see that again. That's just that many wins, that many podiums, not a DNF all season. I mean, that usually doesn't happen. Usually, you at least have one of an engine or something like, something goes wrong. Not you yourself, but just, a mechanical or something like that. That's almost a given, especially with the cars nowadays. But yeah, I don't think you'll ever see anything like that ever again. That's incredible. One for the books. One for the books for sure.
Yeah, as I mentioned at the top of the show, set the record books on fire, man. Really set the record books on fire. 1,000 laps led, which ended up being, I think, a bigger deal to the Red Bull mechanics than it did for Max Verstappen himself. But he was very glad to get that as well. So capping off an absolutely tremendous season. And it's a race for number 2 because I don't think this is going to stop anytime soon as far as constructors are concerned. And it's a race for number 2 as who may or may not be the second driver in the Red Bull car, which I'm sure we'll have more information in the coming weeks. I'm sure early contenders are probably still Sergio Perez.
He probably might have saved his seat finishing in second.
Sergio Perez is becoming the least sexy pick of all. I would love to see a comeback. What a cool, amazing thing it would be to see him come back and have a Rosberg Hamilton-like battle between the two of them. That would be great. I don't think we're going to see that. I don't think anyone could be in that seat that could do that. I don't think Danny's the guy, and I don't think anyone else is coming to Red Bull. So with that, this is it, man. It is the Max era. We're going to look back at this in 20 years, and for better or for worse, just like you're looking back at Michael Schumacher now and being like, oh, well, that was so boring when Schumacher, had it clinched up in June. Well, you've thought that back then, but looking back at it now, you would have loved to have been at those races. You would have loved to have seen any of those races even after the season was over. So it was still exciting looking back at history. Sometimes history in the moment is a little bit not as exciting as it is looking back at it later, but we will see in a few decades about that. But here and now, Max Verstappen, unbelievable, man. Red Bull. Maybe if you put anyone else in there and Max Verstappen isn't in the sport, and you put anyone else in that car, it could have been one of the most incredible seasons if the driver number 1 raced within the reasonable capacity of driver number 2, if you understand what I'm talking about. So I think that could have made it for an incredible season. I think if you look at the rest of the pack behind Max Verstappen, it was fairly even. And outside of reliability, which Red Bull reliability this season has been unreal.
Impeccable.
I cannot recall a season. I know you've been watching and following a lot longer than I have, sir, but I cannot recall a season where there's been so little mechanical issues. And I think the team even says this is a lot of luck. And yeah, it's a lot of skill, but it's also a lot of luck to get in that position, to do what they do and to not have mechanical issues. So can they repeat? Probably. Can they repeat to this magnitude? We'll see. But I think we're going to be in a much more competitive season next year. And I think we might be in what we saw last year with a Ferrari finishing second, Charles Leclerc and not in
We've been,
fifth.
we've been saying there's gonna be a challenge between another team for what, like a decade now, with
Yeah.
Red Bull, and then before that Mercedes. Like,
Yeah. We had
it's
we
been like
have
a
the
decade.
overlapping year. We have the overlapping year
Yeah.
where we had the Red Bull Mercedes overlapping.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
Charles Leclerc
that's
was battling early on last season. You got to admit, he did win
yeah.
2 of the first 3 races
Yep.
in 2022, so he did put a challenge. This year, Sergio looked like it was going to be. I guess 2016 was the last time we saw 2 teams go at it. Well, 2020, one with Max and Lewis, but it's been pretty rare to see anyone really go at it in the fall, and that's what we wanted to see. I know we talked about this. We haven't seen it in 2 years, and hopefully we see it next year, where we have 2 teams going at it in the fall for the constructors, number 1 and number 2, and not for, we're rooting for 4th and 5th here. And number 1 and number 2 in the drivers in the last 3 races of the season. Can you imagine going into Vegas where we're not sure who the number 1 constructors or
well, yeah, I think that's the whole.
I
mean, you don't even want to just see 2 teams. You want to see maybe like a 3-team battle or something like that. To be honest, you don't want to see 2. You want to see 2-3 drivers coming out in the last few races with a chance to win the title. I mean, that's the excitement you want to see.
Hell yeah! I want to see 4 teams.
Yeah, I want to see
the
like
whole
a bunch of
grid,
stuff,
man.
I mean, that's why. To be honest, that's why IndyCar has a little bit more fun that way, because drivers, it's usually not decided until the final race.
Same with F2, man. Same with F2. Which we'll get to. Teo, the F2 champ. We'll get to that and more in a moment. Oh yeah, in the paddock F1, Greeny the cheese. Yeah, as I was saying before I played you off there, Teo Porsche, F2 champ. That was close, 11 points between him and Fred Vesti. So that was finished that season strong. I think it was well in hand, but still, that's what you want to see in F1, right? You want to see a challenge going off right to the very last race, as we saw in F2. So again, congratulations to Teo, who we will not see in F1 next year, but most likely not. Yeah, guys are more going.
He's not rumored for a seat whatsoever.
No rumors there. No rumors for Mr. Porsche, but again, congratulations to him, the 2023 F2 champ. So, which leads us only into, I got to dust my buzzer off.
Probably, yeah.
Dust my bell off more than my buzzer. My buzzer's nice and shiny and new. Get the polish every week.
All right, here we go. Quizmaster's cockpit for the final time this season.
First of all,
strapped in.
First of all, before you start, we need a scoreboard for next year. So I'll put the score right on the screen, during the time, and then we'll have the score.
Yeah, you should also have one of them. We should have a counter. One of us should have a counter behind our heads. Weeks without passing.
Weeks without passing. Days without water.
All right, here we go.
Number of days without an accident. There you go.
That's it.
Let's go.
Yeah, well, there we go.
All
Question
right,
number 1.
Go ahead.
Who is the only driver to win the F1 world title in a car of his own construction?
That's a good question. I should know that. Mario Andretti?
No, that is incorrect. Jack Brabham.
Oh, Jack Brabham. Yeah. Brabham. Yeah. 58, I think the first.
59, 60, and 66, I think it was.
All right. I was wrong there, too. But
His
close.
won the title and his car
Brabham Racing.
His own damn hands.
I didn't see that one coming at all. That was out of left field.
Yeah, we went a little different. We've been going a little bit different. A little, not the old, who's won the most times. Dig a little deeper into the history of Formula One. Question number 2, sir.
Ken Jennings up in here. All right, go ahead.
How many corners did the Yas Marina circuit have prior to the change in 2021?
16?
It now has 16. What did it have before?
Oh, man. Well, I just said 16, but obviously that's what it has now. It's the first thing that came to mind. Go 14?
No, it was they took out corners, not added corners. It was 21. 21 corners. They took out 5 corners.
A lot of corners.
A lot of corners they took out. Question number 3.
Rolling through those buzzers. Rolling through those buzzers. All right, we get it. Keep going.
All right, here we go. Question 3. Leading to something of this whole season. Max led 1,003 laps, to be exact, this season. A record. By the way, he broke the record in Qatar, by the way. Who had the record prior for most laps led in a season?
Oh, I don't remember. I mean, it would make sense that it was Lewis Hamilton just because of the number of races.
Is that going to be your final answer?
Sure.
That is incorrect. Was Seb in 2011 with 739.
That's a smashing of a record.
That is a smashing. I mean, they did have more races than they did have in 2011. So that's one. That was a pretty dominant year. That was a pretty dominant year Seb had that season, too. But nothing compared to percentage win-wise per start that Max has had this season.
Like, it wasn't beating the records. He was smashing the records. And poor Seb, first year out, gets his record smashed.
Smashed.
Lots of Seb records went down this year from that 2011 season. Lots of them.
Yeah.
Including this one.
Yep. So, as the creed in a prior episode, how you perform in Quiznos Master's cockpit, leads us into our next part of this segment. And that's going to take us right into losers since you're 0 for 3.
That's an offer.
That's an offer. Not the way you want to end the season, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Let's see.
You're
losers.
throwing Ken Jennings curveballs at me. It's coming out here. Firing.
I mean, you said yourself you should have knew the first question.
In the spirit of Alex Trebek. You should have your own show, sir. You should have your own quiz show. Because what you come up with is very impressive. I had a list of really tough possible questions that you might have asked. And you asked none of them. You asked none of them. I made a list of getting in your head and nothing.
Yeah. You should know you cannot get in there. And if you do, you're not coming back out.
Oh, man. All right, let's wrap this segment up. Go ahead. Losers.
All right, so we're going to go losers. Ferrari, finishing 3rd. Awful performance by Sainz. I mean, Leclerc put in a great drive, but Sainz just blew that whole weekend. Ruined that. Let's see. I'm going to go Alfa Romeo. Not even going to be that name anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But that was just awful. They just stunk flat out this weekend. I'll leave it there. I mean, I could probably go on.
Yeah, well, Alfa Romeo is going to trash the entire car, the name, the whole thing. They're going to come back as something totally different.
Yeah, for like a season or two before the Audi takes it over.
Yeah, yeah, beating up the back of the
We're gonna
pack.
go back to Sauber.
Yeah, why not? Sauber had some good numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, beating up the back of the pack, but Williams, man, Williams
Absolutely.
barely holding out.
Yeah.
Definitely the last two races, especially, have been persona non grata between Vegas and Abu Dhabi. I don't know if something happened to the car. I don't know if these were just
It's
specifically
good on
tracks
it's good on
that
one
didn't
lap
suit
pace. It's good on one lap pace, and that's it. They just eat up the tires.
And of course, man, that McLaren pit crew really screwed it up on that first pit stop for Lando Norris. That 5-second pit stop changed the entire face of the race. It ended up putting Lando fifth. He probably would have ended up in fourth. I don't know, probably, but he had a good shot at ending up in fourth as it lie. And it ended up George Russell coming in fourth, which ended up Mercedes coming in second in the constructors, Ferrari coming in third in the constructors. And McLaren ended up passing Aston Martin anyway, so they really didn't care. But what a chain of events for that. That's definitely a loser move there. And that's all I really got. So you have winners, sir.
Yuki Tsunoda got the one stop, finished eighth.
Big time.
Merck finished the second. Got to give it to him.
Yeah, got to give it to Mercedes. Someone who is not mentioned in most shows. I listen to a lot of the post-race shows. Did Sergio Perez not finish second and pick up 7 spots? As much as we trash him, you got to give him when he's good. He came in second for the season, and probably the most trash guy all year. He didn't come in first, but when he comes in second, you got to give it to him because it has not happened as often as I'm sure he wanted this season. So it's another podium for him.
Red Bull's first one too.
Yeah, Red Bull's first one too of the season.
The drivers.
And I guess one last time, Aston Martin, even though they got passed by at the end there, they still had 2 cars in the points. They did not do that really much over the last 5-6 races. They picked it up a little more.
Actually showing something at the end of the season.
So Lance Stroll actually is driving like he cares and wants to be there maybe a little bit. Yeah. And Fernando Alonso just keeps picking away at points here and there and finished the season, I believe, 5th overall, which is just so impressive. So impressive for him. So that's where we stand, man. Those are my winners, which leads us to only one thing. And one thing only. And I'm going to make it quick. I'm
deferring it to you, sir.
Take a hard slap. Oh, I'm just grabbing it. I'm just grabbing it. Because you weren't sure. This was easy. One last time. It's Haas racing for one last time. Make it quick and easy. Nico Hülkenberg drove the old car. They brought upgrade. They basically are trying to design a whole new car, which is wonderful and great. And then they put the old car on the track. Nico drove the old car, and Hülkenberg drove the new car. And I'm sorry. K-Mag drove. I don't even know anymore. Nico drove the old car.
Nico who? Nico's not on the team, sir. There's K-Mag and the Hulk. Let's go.
Nico Hülkenberg drove the old car. Came in 8th, right? Yep. And then K-Mag drove the new car and started 17th, finished 20th. Nico just trashed it. I mean, this is a one lap qualifying car. This is a show car. This is a show car, and it's become a show car. It was a non-competitive car. And when we started the season, this was a competitive car, and it was not a competitive car at the end of the season. And it's a joke. And they struggle hard. They struggle so hard in dirty air, and all they do all season is struggle hard in dirty air. And when you qualify in front, you want to stay in front because you don't want to end up in such dirty air. And they struggled too hard in dirty air, and that was really it. That was the season. That's the name of that's the new name of the team. Struggle hard in dirty air. Shitta. That's where this team ended up being. Right in the shitta. Because they struggle hard in dirty air. That's all I gotta say. Slap your damn selves. Get out the powder with the sand right in the shitta. There you go. There's your acronym of the week right there.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I can't right now.
Might have to just play you off then. Alright, we're gonna go resuscitate Cheese. Because he's got to head to the top of the hill and over here. Because he's crying. Greetings, Cheese and Paddock, F1. Hit up the YouTube page, go to YouTube, Greeny and the Cheese. You'll see all our YouTube stuff. And as we finish up the season, we got a lot of off-season stuff coming up. So stick around. We'll be back in a flash.
Ah, yes! Back in the Paddock F1, Greeny and the Cheese. Oh, you know what that sound means. Time to take that fantasy ride to that fantasy island of Greentopia, where the beer flows like wine and the wine flows like beer, and the cannabis grows as far as the eyes can see. Look at it. Look at it out there. Green and luscious. Take a little whiff. That air smells fantastic. And as always, to take a little walk to the top of the hill. There are tickets in hand and a casino at the top. Are we cashing in or are we checking out? Think I gotta go get some work at the cannabis fields.
I'm gonna have to get some work to make some Greeny bucks back. And I totally blew it. I overslept this week, and I'm less upset because I overslept and forgot to put my picks in for the first time, at least this season, which I should have slapped myself for. But I really don't care because I smashed you this season. That's like if Max Verstappen decided to just stay home for the race, he would have still been the champion. It would have been like, all right, Max, it's race time. It's like, you know what? I really don't feel like racing today. I'm going to sleep in. And he still would have been champ. That is correct. So,
that's pretty weak, man. That's pretty weak.
So you were upset.
That's pretty lame, and that's pretty weak.
We had a back and forth via the text, and it was concluded that we need some more ground rules. So I think coming into the next season, we need to set up some ground rules. You failed miserably as well. You didn't hit your trifecta, which you needed to hit to even be competitive. You needed to bet everything on your trifecta, which you didn't hit. But we're going to talk about changes some ground rules. Maybe not now, but maybe put the points on the board too. I think that's important as well. And so this way we're transparent. Maybe some different betting formats. I don't know. I've been playing a little on the Bet365. Hopefully I don't lose the equity on my home, but we'll be okay with that. Got some parlays going tonight. So I'll let you know about that in another podcast. But yeah, it's we definitely got to lay down some ground rules going forward and a little more structure in Greeny Bucks because it's been enjoyable to take a walk to the top of the hill, but now we need to take a walk to the top of the hill and do a little negotiation and what that
maybe
might look like.
The Greentopia Grand Monaco Casino will come up with
Grand Monaco Casino and meet the Grand Greentopia Wizard. We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful wizard of Greentopia, to hammer that out. So yeah. Thank you all for joining us this season. And I think final score was you can take a 1,000-point penalty. That's fine. I'll give you 1,000 Greeny Bucks. I'll give it back to you as charity. as I still
Jesus.
win. I still win 6,000, even with 1,000 off, 340 greenie bucks to your. I didn't even count your final, but it's like 2,300. Doesn't really matter. You lost half of it. You lost half. Some guys might be coming looking for you.
Gonna go get that work at the cannabis fields, man.
You are for the first time ever in 3 years. You are checking out.
Right.
You're checking out. This is for the first time. You ran the hotel for a long time.
I'm not checking out broke like you usually do.
No. You're not checking. You're not checking out and putting your thumb out. At least you got enough money for the Uber ride to the airport. At least you got enough money for that.
That's right.
All right. Is there anything in the news this week, sir?
Logan Sargent might not have his ride next year.
I think
Thoughts
he
on that?
will. I think he will. I think they need a U.S. driver, for better or for worse. If there's a better someone to go in there, I'd like to hear it. I mean, if you told me Alex Albon was poking his head into the top 10 this year, which he was closing in. I think he finished 11th or 12th on the season, but not very strong by Williams. I think you got to keep an American driver in there.
The car's just not good enough. That's
I think
one.
you got to keep an American driver in there.
Agree with that. I absolutely agree with that.
For marketing purposes, and it's not like he's racing the second Red Bull, you know. So I mean, it's not like Williams is. Would Williams have done better? Where they finished seventh? Excuse me, where they finished seventh? So
yeah.
You know, they almost got taken out by AlphaTauri.
I don't think he had an awful year for a rookie season. He scored some points. He got a points finish. I mean, in a seventh best car on the grid, you'd say. I mean, that's wasn't an awful season. I mean, you're definitely gonna not be on your top coming in usually, unless you're those big time drivers that end up winning world titles in the future.
Sadly, I am envious of a Williams fan at this moment. That's all I got to say about that. Anything else you got, sir?
Well, maybe you should have picked a better team. How about that? Maybe that's your own damn fault for that choice.
Show me a better American team.
Yeah, well, you need Andretti.
I'm not Italian. I'm not from the UK. If there was a Polish racing team, we'd all be in trouble.
I've been a fan. I've been watching Formula One for so long. I've had my team wrapped up for years. So
you're good, and I'm happy for you. And I always find a way to be miserable in all my sport picks. So. I mean, I suffered through season after season of Rutgers football.
No, that's a sad choice too. There,
the team at 1-11 and 2-10 in consecutive years.
Let's see. One more. I got one more tidbit for you. Possible rule changes for sprint weekends have been proposed. I believe it goes. Qualifying for the sprint on Friday, sprint race Saturday, then qualifying for the Grand Prix later that day, followed by the Grand Prix on Sunday. Thoughts on that?
I think the sprint race should be completely on Friday, almost like a sideshow, and I think you really need to keep the rest of the weekend the way it is. I think you can't have one practice. I think the structure should be, and I know this puts a lot more track time on the drivers, but the sprint race, I liked it the way it was this year, except that should be on Friday, where they have the quali, and then it goes right into the race pretty much immediately after that. That worked out really well. If that's on a Friday, that would be great. That would still attract 100,000 people to the track, wherever that track might be. That's a great revenue, and it makes it a televised event. It leads into quality the next day. I really think there needs to be 2 practice sessions, as we saw this year. There just needs to be 2 practice sessions at least. There really should be 3, but we can get 2 in there because of the sprint race on Saturday morning, and then have an evening or some kind of special event for quali because of the sprint race. You can make it a full weekend. I think that would be really cool. I think if you can do an evening quali or something and have another 100,000 people out for a practice, a P1, P2 quali over the course of, I'd say, 6 hours. That's not unreasonable to have people at the track for 6 hours with 2 practices and a quali, maybe even 5 hours. You can squeeze it in. I think that's a great structure. I think you can put 300,000 plus fans in. I think you can maximize your revenue. And I think you create the sideshow atmosphere for the sprint race, which is what it is. It's a sideshow. And that's fine. Like I said a couple seasons ago, if F1 thinks that if they do a backwards race where everyone just races around the track once backwards and see who wins, and that they think that'll draw in money, they'll do it. And I would love to see that. That would be actually best time backwards. But like whatever it is, if they think it's going to make cash, then they're going to do it. And if they think it's going to bring 100,000 people out to the track, getting 100,000 people out anywhere is a very difficult task. And when you pay for a staff that's going to suit 100,000 and you get 70,000 out, that's not a good thing, right? So you really want to be able to get the number of people out for the weekend. And that's the goal now, to get 300,000 people out for the weekend. And that's a massive ask. So that's all I got to say about that. He's doing the money thing. He's doing the money thing for those of you listening on the audio. It's the money thing with the fingers. Anyway, sir, it has been an absolutely incredibly fantastic season with you. Season 3 has been unreal. We're going to be rolling. We're going to be rolling up to our 100th episode some point in June of next year. We're going to probably have a spectacular for that. We're going to have to go through the archives of the first 99 and grab the best clips. And we'll got some other podcasts as well coming up, some other podcasts as well in the off season. So actually we might get to episode 100 way quicker than that. So stick around. Again, go to the YouTube, subscribe to that, check us out there. And we're going to have some razzle-dazzle stuff coming up. Say what you got to say, brother.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you in about 90 days or so.
How about that?
Testing.
How about them apples?
All right, y'all. And as always, stay medicated, my friends.
Peace.